Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here. And in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Thursday, November the 4th. We just got a little 5-game slate for Thursday, but as always guys, we're going to go game by game. We're going to talk through each game on this slate, break down each team, kind of give you guys my first thoughts, early look, what stands out to me looking at this slate on Wednesday night. And then as we do go through each game, we'll kind of build out an early core, just talk through a couple plays that do stand out to me. As always, guys, though, if you want my full updated content, my updated core plays, you want my positional plays where I list off my favorite plays at each position, you want my rankings, where I list off my top 20 plays of the day, you want to get access to our Discord chat as well, that can all be found on Patreon. I do provide a lot more updated content on Patreon, so if you enjoy these first look videos and you would like to see more content that I have available, you can check out the Patreon link down below in the description. But as always, guys, before we get started, please do hit the like button, hit the subscribe button as well, and check out the sponsor of this video, PrizePicks. For those of you that have not signed up for PrizePicks yet and you would like to try them out, they're more of a player prop based DFS site, so you're not going to have to compete against pro players. You're not going to have to compete against people playing 150 lineups. It's basically just you versus the projection. So they have projections for just about every player. Now, as I'm recording this video, they don't have anything posted for NBA yet on Thursday. But late Wednesday night, early Thursday morning, they'll start to post some NBA projections. They'll have point, rebound, assist projections. They'll also post fantasy point projections as well. And you just pick the over or the under. They also have a ton of other sports too. As you can see, they have NFL. We got Thursday night football. We got the Jets and the Colts, a game that, I'll be honest, if I'm watching the Jets and the Colts, for me to be fully engaged in a Jets-Colts game, I think I'm going to need to have some money involved, because I don't think I could watch a game like that without having money involved. So if you want to get some money down for Thursday night football, they have a ton of stuff up for NFL. Obviously, they'll have some NBA projections posted, early Thursday morning, and they have college football, MMA. They got every sport imaginable. So if you want to check out PrizePicks, guys, whenever you sign up, be sure to use promo code NOAH, and they will match your first deposit, give you a free bet up to $100 if you do sign up with my promo code. So check them out, guys, and see everything that PrizePicks has to offer. Go and make some picks for yourself. But let's talk about Thursday's little 5-game slate. We're going to start off with the Sixers and Pistons game. So this is one we're going to have to keep an eye on when it comes to injury news, just because the Sixers are on a back-to-back, and on a back-to-back here, playing Detroit. I'm assuming that Joel Embiid plays today, but they've been kind of really cautious with Joel Embiid this season, just so far this year. He did rest a couple games ago. Obviously, he played Wednesday night, didn't play that well. I was very high on Embiid Wednesday night. It was really disappointing to see him struggle as bad as he did. With no Tobias Harris, with no Ben Simmons, I really thought Joel Embiid was just going to dominate the usage, and that didn't really happen. He played 34 minutes, but only had 41 fantasy points, 18 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists. Look, it's a great matchup against Detroit, assuming Embiid plays today. His best game of the season came against this Detroit team when they did play a couple days ago. The game's being played in Detroit, so I think that makes it a lot more likely it stays close as well. Obviously, with Philly missing, 2 key players, this team is not nearly as good, not having those guys. So this should be a close game. I think Embiid has a ton of upside here, but I do worry about a bit about his health. I just don't know if Embiid's fully healthy right now. He just hasn't looked the same. He hasn't looked like that elite, dominant fantasy center that we've known him to be. I'm sure if I don't play Embiid today, he's going to smash, because I played him Wednesday night and he obviously let me down. If I don't play him Thursday, he's probably going to smash. But right now, I think if Embiid plays, it's a great spot. He should get a ton of opportunity. He's still a good pay-up option in my opinion. I don't know if I'm going to play Embiid. Obviously, I don't build my lineups till an hour or two before lock. But Embiid does look like a good play here and a good matchup against a very bad Pistons team. But then some other guys we could target from Philly, without Tobias Harris and Ben Simmons, there's opportunity for some other guys. Seth Curry, 5,900. Feels priced about right, but he's been playing really well lately. He had a pretty decent game on Wednesday night. Played 34 minutes, had 32 fantasy points. I think he's priced about right. Same with Maxey, but these guys do have a little bit more upside, especially now that Tobias Harris is out. Korkmaz should continue to get pretty good run. I think he played around 25 minutes on Wednesday. His price has gotten to a point where I don't think he really stands out, but he's still at least playable. We know Korkmaz is one of those guys that, he's mainly a shooter, but when he gets hot, he can really put up a lot of points in a quick amount of time. So don't mind Korkmaz, but, not my favorite play. Georges Niang, though, I think is definitely my probably favorite value from this Sixers team. He's only 4,400 on DK, pretty cheap, and he's also pretty cheap on Yahoo, only $11 over there. So even though Georges Niang did not start Wednesday, I thought there was maybe a possibility he would start in place of Tobias Harris, but they went with They went with Thibault and Korkmaz, but we still saw big minutes for Niang off the bench. He played 31 minutes off the bench Wednesday night. He played 31 minutes the game before that as well. I think Niang comes off the bench again, most likely, and plays probably 25 to 30 minutes, and he's cheap on both sides. He's been relatively productive when he gets minutes. I think he's a really solid value once again today. Definitely like him on this slate. We'll have to wait and see, if any other value opens up as the day goes on, but I think Niang is a strong value for sure. And then I don't even mind a guy like Shake Milton. They said Shake Milton was no longer on a minutes limit Wednesday. He didn't play a ton of minutes, though. He only played 19 or about 20 minutes. But without, Tobias Harris, there's going to be more usage to go around. I think Shake Milton does offer some upside. He is very cheap on both sides, so he's definitely in play for value. But there is a lot to like from the Sixers team, just with no Harris, with no Simmons, with no Danny Green. There's a lot of minutes available, and there's a lot of usage available. Obviously, we expect Joel Embiid to kind of, dominate the usage, but there's going to be more opportunity for some other guys like Seth Curry and Maxey, and obviously Niang seeing increased minutes too. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on the Sixers team. Even Thibault, maybe you could play. Thibault did start Wednesday. I think he played a decent amount of minutes. Let me check. Draftkings doesn't update their game log quickly. But yeah, Thibault did play 38 minutes against the Bulls now. I think that was a matchup where they kind of wanted Thibault out there for his defense. I don't know if they really need him out there for his defense against this terrible Pistons team. But if Thibault does start again, he probably plays close to 30 minutes. He's not really a guy that has massive upside. He mainly gets there on blocks and steals. But if he's going to play 30 minutes and, he's cheap on Yahoo, he's cheap on Draftkings, he would be playable as well on a short slate like this. But that does it for the Phillies side. Now on Detroit, I think there's one guy that really stands out from Detroit on Draftkings, and that's Cade Cunningham. Cade Cunningham, 4K is still way too cheap. I don't care what he did last game. I know he had a terrible game. He was massive chalk last slate. But he was good chalk, in my opinion. They said he was no longer on a minutes limit, and he played 29 minutes in a blowout, so he probably would have played more minutes had it not been a blowout. Obviously did not have a good game, but he shot the ball terribly. I mean, he literally couldn't make a shot. And so far this year, he shot the ball terribly. 12% from the field in his first game, 14% from the field last game, 0 for 9 from 3. He's yet to make a three-pointer this season. He's not going to shoot 14% from the field every single game. Eventually, Cade Cunningham is going to start making shots. 4K is just too cheap for Cade Cunningham, especially if we expect him to play around 30 minutes, which I'm assuming he plays today. If not, 32, 34 minutes. At only 4K, he's still way too cheap on DraftKings. He's one of my favorite values on DK. He's priced appropriately on Yahoo, but on DraftKings, Cade Cunningham really stands out from this Pistons team. And then, the rest of the Pistons, I don't have too much interest in. For the most part, this team feels priced about right. Now, it's a pretty short slate, only 5 games, so you could obviously play Jeremy Grant or Sadiq Bey or even Kelly Olynyk, but really the standout play, in my opinion, from Detroit is Cade Cunningham, just at his really cheap DK price. So that kind of does it for this game. Next one, Utah and Atlanta. So on the Utah side, big injury to watch today with the status of Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell got injured in their last game. He was able to return and play through the injury, but he is questionable for today. So this is going to be something to monitor. Rudy Gobert right now on DraftKings is listed as out, but I'm pretty sure this is a mistake. I tweeted out that I thought Gobert was out, and people were correcting me, telling me he's not. So I checked the injury report, and Rudy Gobert is not on the injury report. So I'm not sure exactly why, but for some reason DraftKings has Rudy Gobert listed as out right now, but he is not on the injury report, so he should be good to go. Donovan Mitchell, though, is questionable. That is confirmed. With Mitchell questionable, obviously if he were to get ruled out, that would be big boost to guys like Mike Conley, Jordan Clarkson, Joe Ingles. All three of those guys would become really, really good plays if Mitchell gets ruled out. If Mitchell plays, there's not too much I love from this Utah team. Utah, for the most part, when they're fully healthy, I rarely roster these guys. Now, it's a 5-game slate. We don't have a ton of options. So, yeah, you could go to Donovan Mitchell in tournaments or Rudy Gobert in tournaments. But for the most part, this team does feel priced about right if we expect everyone to play. I think Royce O'Neal is questionable. So this is kind of important. Royce O'Neal is questionable. If he gets ruled out, he does play. He does play a lot of minutes. He's not he's not really like a high usage player. He doesn't really take a lot of shots, but he does play a lot of minutes. So if Royce O'Neal were to get ruled out, there would be more minutes available. I'd assume they would probably move Bojan down to the 4, and then they would start Joe Ingles. But I guess you could maybe see Eric Pascal start. Just keep an eye on that Royce O'Neal news, because obviously he's a starter. If he gets ruled out, somebody else is going to have to move into the starting lineup. My guess would be Ingles. But so that could be important. If O'Neal does get ruled out and Joe Ingles starts, I would like Joe Ingles a good amount at 4,600. Obviously, if Mitchell gets ruled out, then yeah, Joe Ingles, love him. Clarkson, love him. Conley, great play as well. But for the most part, if everyone plays from Utah today, I don't see too much that stands out. Most of these guys are just going to be like tournament plays for me. I don't know if there'd be any core options from this Jazz team. Now on the Atlanta side, we're going to have to keep an eye on some injuries here too. Like this is a back-to-back for Atlanta, and I think Atlanta, their coach, has said they want to rest guys this year. John Collins was questionable for Wednesday's game. He ultimately wound up playing. Like I would not be surprised if they sit John Collins today for rest. For now, I'm just going to assume that everyone on Atlanta plays, but keep an eye on their injury report as well. There's a lot of teams on back-to-backs today, so we're going to have to watch the injury reports. But Trae Young, starting off at the top, 9,900. Trae feels pretty expensive for a pretty tough matchup against the Jazz, but it's only a 5-game slate, and we really don't have a ton of elite studs today. Like we have LeBron and AD and Westbrook, but you guys know when those three guys are fully healthy, it's just always tough to predict, who's going to get the big or who's going to have the big game between those three. We have we have Embiid on the slate, but Embiid at this point, is he really fully healthy? We have Jimmy Butler, who I do like quite a bit. I think is one of my favorite studs right now. You got the Boston guys, but we don't really have Luka or Giannis or Jokic or Curry. Like those guys aren't on this slate. So, 9,900 for Trae Young against the Jazz is normally not a play I would be making. But on a 5-game slate like this where we don't have a ton of options, I think Trae is definitely playable for sure. Clint Capella, matchup against Rudy Gobert is not ideal, but I think Clint Capella will play relatively good minutes. Assuming he plays today, I would have a good amount of interest in him. I think he did get pretty good minutes on Wednesday night. Let me see just to confirm. Clint Capella, Wednesday against Brooklyn, he did play 32 and a half minutes. He's been seeing his minutes really go up lately. He started off the year only playing around 27, 29 minutes, but the last few games, 32, 33 minutes. If we get 33 minutes from Clint Capella, he's definitely playable. John Collins not as high on. Probably would just rather go to Capella, but Collins is fine if you want to go there. The rest of the Hawks, I'm not really interested in, like Cam Reddish, DeAndre Hunter, Kevin Huerter. I don't think I'm going to go to these guys on this slate. I know Hunter had a good game. He shot the ball really well Wednesday night, but that's probably not something I'm going to be chasing today. So we can move on to the next one, Boston and Miami. So looking at Boston here, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown at the top. Matchup against Miami is definitely not ideal. So far this season, Miami has been a really, really good defensive team. They've actually got the best defensive rating in the league so far. They also have been playing, I think, at a pretty slow pace, if I remember correctly. Miami is, let's see, they're 20th in pace. So, they're bottom 10 in pace. So, Miami's a relatively slow-paced team. They have the best defense in the league right now. This is not a good matchup for Tatum or Brown, but we know that Tatum and Brown are going to dominate the usage on the Celtics team. So could they have good games here? They absolutely could. But I think on DraftKings, their price tags do feel about right for this matchup. If not, they feel a little bit more expensive than I would like to pay. I think both Tatum and Brown will be pretty low owned. So if you want to go there, I think it's fine. Al Horford on DraftKings, another guy that feels priced about right, but he's been playing great this year. Had another really good game Wednesday night against Orlando. This is a back-to-back. And, Horford is an older guy. He's kind of been known to rest on back-to-backs, and I think he actually did rest on a back-to-back earlier this year, if I remember correctly. He sat out a game earlier this year. I can't remember if it was a back-to-back or not, but we'll have to keep an eye on his status. Assuming he plays, I think Horford's, fine. I do like him a lot more on Yahoo, though, because he's a lot more affordable there. He's only $23 at center. He is definitely one of my favorite center options on Yahoo. He's the same price tag as Robert Williams, just, for example, so you look at the price tags on DraftKings, Horford's $7,400, Williams is $5,800, whereas on Yahoo, Horford and Williams are the same price tag. I'm definitely going to go to Horford there. Like him a lot on Yahoo. I don't mind him on DK, but not as much of a top option for me at his price point. And the rest of the Celtics, I'm not really that high on. It's probably just Tatum, Brown, and Horford from Boston, and that's really it. Again, tough matchup here against Miami. I really don't want to be loading up on Celtics, on this slate. Now on the Miami side, again, not a great matchup for them against Boston. This game overall, I don't expect to see a massive amount of points scored here. But obviously we know, for the most part where the usage is going on both these teams. On Miami, Jimmy Butler is going to dominate the usage, and he's been dominating the usage so far this season. He's been playing at an MVP level, especially his last few games. He's just been great. At least 47 DraftKings points in 5 straight games for Jimmy Butler. We know Jimmy's going to play massive minutes as long as the game stays close. Again, been very productive this season. I pulled up his numbers. He's got a 27.8% usage rate, averaging 1.44 fantasy points per minute this season is Jimmy Butler. Just been playing so well. 9,600, pretty expensive for Jimmy. But again, we don't have Giannis, we don't have Luka, we don't have Jokic, Curry, some of these elite studs we're used to paying up for. I'm fine spending $9,600 for Jimmy on this slate. He's definitely one of my favorite studs at first look. And on Yahoo at $43 at small forward, he's for sure a small forward. He's probably my favorite small forward overall. Going to most likely be trying to fit him in on Yahoo as well. And then the rest of the Miami guys I think are fine plays as well. Bam Adebayo, 8,100. Bam's also been great this year. Going to play big minutes. Been very productive. 28% usage rate, averaging 1.31 fantasy points per minute. I would say Bam's probably my second favorite play from Miami. Kyle Lowry's been playing a lot better lately. He started off the season really slow, really struggled. But the last few games he's been playing really well. His price tag's come way up on DraftKings, but I still think he's a fine option. On Yahoo, though, I think Kyle Lowry's a pretty good play over there. He's $23 on Yahoo. That's a way better price tag. I definitely like Lowry a lot more on Yahoo. I would be a lot more likely to play him at that price tag. Again, you look what he's done his last few games. Really been trending in the right direction. I know the Memphis game was without Bam Adebayo, but last game against Dallas with the team fully healthy, 35 minutes for Kyle Lowry, 40 fantasy points. Seems like, he had some sort of injury bothering him at the beginning of the year. I think it was an elbow injury. I think that elbow injury that he, kind of had at the beginning of the year is pretty much past him at this point. Kyle Lowry's looked great lately. $23 on Yahoo. I like him a lot more on Yahoo than I do at his DK price tag. And then, Tyler Hero feels priced about right. The rest of the rest of the Miami guys I don't have any interest in. So we can move on to the next game. Talk about Houston and Phoenix. So on Houston today, Christian Wood, 8,800. Pretty expensive for a matchup against Phoenix. Not the best spot here, but we know Christian Wood has a ton of upside. Now on this slate, I think I probably would rather play Bam for a little bit cheaper. But I don't mind Christian Wood. I think it will become a better matchup for Christian Wood if DeAndre Ayton gets ruled out. Ayton was ruled out for their last game, for Phoenix's last game. Ayton's questionable for today, so that's another injury we're going to have to keep an eye on. Christian Wood, more of a tournament play, but still a fine option in my opinion. Kevin Porter at 6,400, I do like quite a bit. I think he's underpriced on both sites. He's 6,400 on DK. On Yahoo, he looks pretty good over there as well. If you want to play him on Yahoo, only $23. Definitely like KPJ here. The minutes have been pretty high lately. Really the only concern with KPJ and really all these Rockets is just, can they keep the game close? In close games, though, we've been getting big minutes from KPJ. Played 40 minutes last game against the Lakers, 36 minutes the game before that. That was a competitive game. Basically, every competitive game this season, KPJ's played at least like 36, 37 minutes. If this game can stay close, which is a big if, we do probably see around 35, 36 minutes from Kevin Porter. He should be pretty productive when he's on the floor. He's a fantasy point per minute player. He should dominate the usage for the most part on this Rockets team. I think a lot of the usage on this team is going to go through guys like Kevin Porter, Christian Wood, even Jalen Green. But Kevin Porter going to play massive minutes if it's a close game. 6,400 is probably a little bit too cheap for him, especially on a 5-game slate like this. He does stand out as a pretty solid option in the mid-range. Jalen Green, I don't mind either. He's more scoring dependent. He's not really a guy that's going to do much with peripherals, but if he can hit his shots, he's got upside, and he was hitting his shots last game against the Lakers. You saw him have a good game, 33 DK points. I think he's playable too, but I would probably prefer Kevin Porter just straight up. And that's probably it for the rest of the Houston guys. We're going to need to keep an eye on the status of Daniel Tice. He is currently questionable. Last game, Daniel Tice was out. They started Sengun at center. They started Christian Wood and Sengun alongside each other. He did play 26 minutes. He did get into a little bit of foul trouble. Maybe would have played more had he not been in a little bit of foul trouble. But if Sengun starts again for only 4,100, so far this year he's been a fantasy point per minute player. I'd assume if he starts, he plays around 25, close to 30 minutes. At 4,100, he would be a really good value play. Even though he didn't do well last game, I would be fine going right back to him today. Assuming that Daniel Tice is out again. So that's going to be news we have to keep an eye on. But that's pretty much it for the most part on Houston. Now on Phoenix, I don't know if there's any standout plays to me from Phoenix, but guys like Devin Booker, Chris Paul, on a 5-game slate, you can definitely go to these guys. Now, I will say that on DraftKings, they do feel priced about right. Booker's 8,700, Paul's 8,500. I don't think we're really getting discounts on these guys. But in a good matchup against Houston, Houston's been terrible defensively this year. They play at a fast pace. You could definitely get a stealing game from one of those guys. I don't mind either one. I think if I had to pick one, probably would side with Chris Paul between the two. And then, like I said earlier, DeAndre Ayton is questionable. He did not play in their last game. We saw JaVale McGee draw the start. JaVale McGee did play around 20 minutes, I do believe. Yeah, he played 19 minutes. He did not start the second half. They went with Frank Kaminsky over McGee in the second half. I don't know if McGee would start again. Maybe they would start Frank Kaminsky. Kaminsky did play pretty well, and he did play 29 minutes. So this is going to be something to keep an eye on. If DeAndre Ayton gets ruled out, I would assume either one of JaVale McGee or Frank Kaminsky starts. Honestly, whichever one starts is going to be a really good value play. I'd assume McGee would play around 20 to 22 minutes if he starts. I assume Kaminsky would probably get around 20 to 22 minutes off the bench. But then if it were to be a different scenario where Kaminsky would start, then I think we'd probably get like 26, 28 minutes from Kaminsky and probably 18 to 20 from McGee. So starting lineup's going to be important. But if DeAndre Ayton does get ruled out, that is a nice bump for McGee and Kaminsky. Both those guys would be considerable or value plays we could consider. Whichever one starts, I would have more confidence in. But that's it for the most part on Phoenix. Like Mikal Bridges, Jay Crowder, even on a 5-gamer, I don't think I'm going to play those guys. It's really just the guards and then the value centers if Ayton gets ruled out. But last game of the night, we'll talk about OKC and the Lakers. So on the OKC side, really, really good matchup here for these Lakers or for these OKC guys. The Lakers this season, I mean, they have not been good defensively, and they've been playing at a really fast pace as well. Lakers been playing at the second fastest pace in the league in terms of defensive rating. Where the Lakers at? Pretty sure they're like towards the bottom of the league if I remember correctly. So they're about middle of the pack in defensive rating, but the pace is what really matters, and the Lakers have been playing really fast this season. We saw these teams play not too long ago, and it was a competitive game. That's always a concern when it comes to this OKC team. They're going to get blown out a lot, kind of like the Rockets and the Pistons, but when they do keep games close, you see upside, massive upside for a guy like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Last time they played the Lakers, he played 38 minutes, 47 DraftKings points for SGA. On the road in LA in the Staples Center, this is not a spot where you expect it to stay close. I think the spread right now is like 13 points or something. I think, the Lakers are favored by 12.5 right now. So that is a concern. But if it stays close, man, I think SGA has, 50-plus point upside. He's obviously going to dominate the usage on this Thunder team. The matchup's good. It should be a fast-paced game, or it's at least a pace-up spot for the Thunder. I like SGA quite a bit on both sides, and I don't think he gets a ton of ownership today, especially where he's priced at. On Yahoo, $33, I do like SGA quite a bit over there. He's for sure my favorite play from this OKC team, but, Josh Giddey, I don't mind either. Josh Giddey's been playing pretty big minutes for the most part. He's been pretty productive as well. He's a guy that, can do a little bit of everything, can score, can get rebounds, can get assists. Last time they played the Lakers, he did really well, 38 DraftKings points in 32 minutes. 5,800 price tag's coming up a little bit, but I still think Josh Giddey is in play. Darius Bazley, not as high on Darius Bazley. He did have a really good game against the Lakers, but for the most part, Bazley at 4,600 I think feels priced about right. He will randomly pop off at times for a ceiling game, but for the most part, Bazley's not really a guy I roster that much. I really don't have too much interest in anyone else on the Lakers, or on the Thunder, excuse me. I think really SGA and Giddey are the two plays I like here. Lou Dort's questionable, so keep an eye on this. If Lou Dort sits, last game they started Robinson, Earl, and Favors alongside each other. Maybe they would do that again. I don't really know, but keep an eye on the Thunder starting lineup. If Dort gets ruled out, we could maybe get some value from OKC depending on who were to start for Dort if he doesn't play. But really, SGA and Giddey are the guys that stand out here. Now on the Lakers side, this Lakers team, they're so tough to predict when, they're fully healthy. You just look at, so far this year, Westbrook, his best games this season came when LeBron was out. 59 and 64 DK points. Both those games were without LeBron. The rest of the season, he's been under 50 DraftKings points. He's 10,700. I don't know if I can justify paying this price tag for Russell Westbrook when I can get a guy like Jimmy Butler for $1,000 cheaper, or even Jason Tatum or Embiid. I'd rather play Embiid over these guys. LeBron and AD are probably the two Lakers I'd go to over Westbrook. LeBron's questionable, but I assume he plays. I think at this point LeBron's going to be questionable for every game, and maybe he sits every now and then, but I think he's going to play here. LeBron's got upside. It's going to be tough to predict when he puts up big games, but it wouldn't be surprising to see him do well against a bad Thunder team. Same could be said for Anthony Davis, but at his price tag 10-3, all these Lakers guys are expensive enough to where I don't really think they stand out to me as top studs today. I'd rather play Jimmy Butler. I'd rather play Embiid. I think I'd rather play Trae Young. I just don't think I'm going to go to the Lakers. But when they're fully healthy, this is a team I just don't really get excited to roster, I'll be honest. Carmelo at his price tag I don't love. Kent Bazemore has zero upside. I just don't really like any Lakers today. I'm going to be off this team for the most part. It may come back to bite me, but I would be very surprised if by the end of the night, one of these Lakers guys puts up a score that you have to have at their price tags. LeBron could easily go for 50, 55. Same with AD, but with how they're priced, is that going to be, a score that you have to have? Probably not, because Jimmy Butler is $1,000 less, and he could easily score 50, if not outscore these guys. So for the most part, don't really like too many Lakers here. The studs are fine. You could always play the stud guys, but I probably won't be personally on this 5-game slate. But yeah, guys, that does it for the game-by-game breakdown. I hope you guys enjoyed. Kind of wanted to give my quick thoughts on this slate. As always, guys, if you enjoy these first look videos and you want to get more content from me, you can check out the Patreon, link down below in the description. Get access to my rankings, my updated core plays. You can get access to my full list of my favorite plays at each position. Get in our Discord chat as well, where I'm able to answer any questions you have up until lock, and then even after lock. If you have questions, if you need to make any swaps or make any changes to your lineup, I can always help you out with that, answer your questions after lock as well. So check out the Patreon, see all that I do have to offer over there. But thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, sign up for PrizePicks as well if you have not yet. Use promo code NOAH when you do sign up for PrizePicks. They'll give you a free bet up to $100 when you sign up with my promo code. But that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Good luck tonight.